Again, for our second map here and decide if MNM still have some fight left in them.
Grab your marshmallows for the campfire, folks. It starts now in between these two teams. And what are we removing from play before we hop into Oregon? Well, initially it's going to be Habana, the Hatch Queen herself, will not be here this time around. She was on Cafe, but for Oregon, she's even more important to the overall story of what the offense can produce. Thatcher, the same story, as well those EMPs, quite annoying to deal with. So those will be wiped off the board. But what does Oxygen want to affect the defense with, as they'll be starting on the offensive side?
Defensive bans now coming out, though, as Oxygen will get the first choice here. Everything making sense so far for our attackers and falling in line with the meta, and it's probably going to be the same thing here for our defender bans. Mira is the choice from Oxygen. How does MNM want to try and swing things, though, as they'll have a pretty straightforward choice, too, as that's going to be coming up in just a second here, and...
Da-da-da-da.
Oh my, could have seen a Valkyrie ban there, so a little bit off, but again, we already saw the Wamai ban picked up in the previous map as well, so that is just the choice for MNM.
Also, just as a reminder, Oxygen really do like their IQ pick. This is something that's ran very often by Vertical. He loves that 5.52 commando, so we're more than likely going to see that worked in from Oxygen eventually here, especially if we start to see a lot of Valkyrie play where it's starting to influence the rounds here on the defensive end. Well, for now, we're headed down to the hallmark site of this entire map. It is Laundry Supply Room for MNM's very first defense.
Showing Anello, but immediately he's going for the 6th pick. Usus will move over towards a Valkyrie. And at the same time, Nock will come in here for OXG. An interesting switch on it, though, is they're going to delete quite a bit of the utility they would have brought to the table here on the Capital, and instead bring that aggressive extra capability on the Nock, specifically for a basement attack. This could have some interesting lead-ups, so we will follow that very closely as we get into our first round.
Well, Capital obviously has a direct counter in the likes of Wamai, but
he's banned.
He's banned, exactly. And that's exactly why John is questioning this. And honestly, I don't have any fault with that either. The biggest thing is that they've stacked the nades. And that's honestly a really, really good thing in this situation, because without Wamai, you still don't have as much utility as you possibly would initially. And they don't have a Rooney in either. So the only person preventing any of these nades from flying into sight is Jaeger with his ADSs, and nowadays they only catch a singular thing. So if we see proper clearing utilized by Oxygen, this could be some serious frag power coming in from the NA team.
Yeah, at most, if they're going to all be dumped over the same period of time, you're looking at 3 out of 8 of those being deleted. Aside from that, there's going to be 5 more that can cleanly work their way in. Obviously, if there's some delay in those, you could have the ADSs recharge and a few more get gobbled back up, but I'm certain that OXG will want to try and take those ADSs out before they're given an opportunity to collect a second nade. One player has brought a kit of flashes too, so good possibility that none of them end up getting deleted, and that there's going to be a whole bombardment for MNM to deal with at some later point in the round here. Oxygen have to deal with these little peeps coming up the stairwells though first before they can even think about descending into the basement. Nothing creeping itself over towards the freezer stairs, but as we can see, Neo, mainly peeking up for intel, is going to hold positioning over towards the back stairs and try to pay attention and hopefully get lucky and grab a member of Oxygen.
Oxygen already descending the freezer stairwell. They'll probably hold on to this for a time. A pretty cheeky Valkyrie camera and behind the AC unit. The top of the freezer hallway, so they'll have some extra insight going into that space for later on. As for Oxygen, they just want to make sure that they get this hatch play into play, and that's exactly what we'll see the Mav Torch doing in the current moment. For Foxe, Kino will begin blowing open some hatches himself as well as we begin to deconstruct this downstairs site. Laundry already being picked up. Valkyrie camera discovered here as well. Laxing not too worried about these Valkyrie picks in and of himself because he is Nock, so he'll be able to slip past that info game here and more than likely pick up some MNM members if they're not aware.
Kino hoping for a successful swing here that someone would be on the other side, but hasn't happened just yet here. Everyone from MNM staying nice, cool, calm, and collected, but this is going to be a very early push from Oxygen. Still a minute and 15 seconds left to go, and you can see they're already baiting out some of the toxic babes. It's Nello, though, to strike first against Yogg, with only a little bit of damage being traded both onto him and Tyrant, who took another fight, more than likely against the push from Kino over towards the inside of the closet. Nice nades, though, again, bring Nello even lower, but Solotov on top of Nello are just shredding this attack. Oxygen are dead on the ground. The nades do virtually nothing to the setup from MNM, and Laxing is suddenly left as the only player standing.
Unfortunate for Oxygen in the moment, as the overall strategy seemed pretty solid, but obviously as MNM just collect body after body, it gets even more difficult. This will get tagged up here from Laxian inside of Freezer, but this is not going to get him too much. He'll eventually be taken down by Tyrant in the first round. We'll go over to Marshmallows and Molotovs.
That is going to be a dominant first round for MNM as well. Absolutely nothing working out for Oxygen as soon as they made the descent into the basement. A fairly straightforward push from Oxygen, all things considered, at the end of the day, and able to do it really early on in the round. No reason why they had to force the issue out there, but still so many players peeked into the open. MNM said, all right, you want to fight? Let's do it, and managed to take so many successful duels in their favor. At any point there, Oxygen could have backed that up and tried to reinsert themselves at a later point, but decided not to, and gave away far too many players there, leaving it as a just pretty straightforward hold at the end of the day for MNM once they dodge the nades.
Yeah, absolutely. For Oxygen, they were trying to, ramp up the pacing in that situation just because Laxian was on the back end for tower so that he could sneak downstairs and possibly just be the dagger instead of the veil that they were able to try and set up. But Oxygen just not able to muster any frags that meant anything at all. Laxian's the only one with a kill, and the only reason that he got that is because he got traded out at the end. So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, as that's going to be an exit frag that doesn't work into anything serious for OXG. For MNM now, it's upstairs towards the dorms defense as Oxygen continue to look for their very first round here on their offensive side. MNM with some pretty solid ideas on how to hold this top floor. We'll have the laser gates coming in with a punch holes being put inside of the trophy space just for an extended view into Master, which is a hot spot for a lot of players to come through, as that main wall is usually a priority to get in towards the game space.
From that, MNM are primed and ready to go, and Oxygen, well, we're going to have to slow things down a little bit this time for more reasons than one. A relative lack of success in the first round is one reason, but at the same time, this site lends a lot more capability for MNM to play aggressively to try and take early duels themselves, and they'll certainly have the confidence to do so after the last round's results here. So OXG certainly going to want to take a step back and reanalyze things, check twice, cut once before they try to work their way in here. You can already see Tyrant trying to go for one of those swings I was talking about previously, but is not going to find anything outside of the lower tower door.
Well, obviously, extended to hold down the stairs here for Usus. He's looking to see if he can possibly slow down Oxygen's take inside of the area. We all know how prominent the frag grenades have been at this LAN, as they've been able to pick up quite a few frags, and, well, in the current moment, not able to find much. They'll be able to eliminate some utility at the top of white, but they won't be able to get in underneath the site as easily, simply because of the placement of these MNM bodies. We'll continue to hold on to this as Yaga propels himself up white stairs here. Nobody home in the current moment, but obviously they'll have some utility in the space to slow him down just a bit. But is there a Banshee over here? That's the big question right now. They do have the cross angle here all the way over from Trophy. It'll tag up Yaga, but he has the ability to heal himself back up. Speaking of healing, Usus will more than likely want some of that, but unfortunately nothing in order to achieve that in the current moment. Tyrant will continue to hold on to Freezer Stairs and make sure that he is safe down low for his rotation as they continue to delay Oxygen's time.
There's no way that
With
works.
Solotov, he gives it up. Yaga continuing to pepper the door, finally finds the head of Solotov, and that will be our opening frag.
Yaga wins the lottery with the tap pool going into his favor there, as he just consistently goes for it time after time again, and unfortunately for the members of MNM, Solotov ends up obliging, walking right into that spray setup there. A nice nade follows it up also and gives a second kill, now a third too, over to the members of Oxygen, as they're changing up their fate very quickly, but Usus with the double nitro cell kill reignites MNM back into it, only for a split second though, as OXG are still in control of the pacing and still in control of their own first round here as they tie us up at 1-1.
Well, fortunately, Oxygen have a Yaga as he finds 3 kills inside of that one. Oxygen trying to set the plant down inside of dorms, but that goes so awry with the nitro cell being stuck to the wall directly above the 2 Oxygen members. A fantastic frag grenade here from Vert as well, and that's why the placement of Usus down low was very, very helpful for MNM in the moment. But once he gets pressured out, the frag grenades can then, assist in clearing out that top space and making MNM's life a heck of a lot more difficult. They don't really want to go go down to any of the mid-floor sites. I feel like the run back will be able to assist them. Let's see what they want to change up inside of their strategy, as they've definitely switched out some ops here. Uses, first of all, will not be on the mute anymore. That'll go on over to Nello. He's on the Valkyrie. Solotov still sticking to the Malusi, but the biggest thing is here we won't have the Aruni gates any longer.
Aruni gates, we are going to see those Goyo shields still remain present and hopefully be able to slow down the assault from Oxygen. Oxygen, however, once they got the ball rolling, they never hit the brakes. Were able to wipe out MNM within a period of about 30 or 40 seconds, I would say, from the first kill to the last there. So that's the problem for MNM right now, is trying to get control over this chain of frags that Oxygen seem to be able to find from time to time. They're slow down their pacing, make Oxygen second guess themselves. That's how they were making mistakes versus FaZe yesterday, being slowed up too much, not taking enough action inside of the execute, and of course FaZe causing chaos inside of those to be able to slow them down even further to eventually run the time bank down to an unwinnable point. FaZe even said this inside of an interview with CGG2, that that's how they were looking to win, and it worked out pretty much perfectly yesterday. But so far, MNM struggling to contain the storm as OXG work their way in on that first round.
Oh, Tyrant. Oh, crucial shots being missed, and Yaga once again able to heal himself back up. It's a make or break up. If Yaga dies there, then obviously the rest of his team more than likely not too happy about that swing, but they'll definitely be happy as they'll take down the initial blood yet again here for the second time in a row, and the second time for Yaga. Solotov this time will be dedicated down low, just like we saw from Yuzis the last time around. Vertical's got some solid info inside of this department here, as Solotov will continue to try and hold on to the space. Oxygen will slow things up just a little bit here, as they've got so much time at their disposal. Still have 2 minutes remaining here to drone out the map and see exactly how they want to handle this downstairs presence.
So what a 5v4, Oxygen in control once again, but have been pushed into a slow point. I wonder momentarily that's going to be. Solotov able to isolate out one of the Twitch drones that passes by, but I'm sure Relaxing won't be losing too much sleep over the loss of that one, considering the progress they've already made inside of this round here. Foxy lines up the nade. Man, this is looking like a straight-up repeat of the last round right now, as the second kill is going to come in from a nade. Now that does try to go down the stairs and nearly manages to catch another member of MNM, but instead it's going to fall to Vertical to try to find it, as he's instead going to be the one to knock out Solotov. We sit in a 5v2. Only the anchors are left alive here, and they'll be able to at least respond here. Neo a bit deeper in over towards Arsenal. Picks up not just one, but 2 holds here against Oxygen. That's what's going to cause that second guessing I was talking about before, the slowdowns from OXG, as now they'll have to take a back seat for a second, reanalyze the situation, as it's not as clean of a victory as it was looking to be a few seconds prior.
For Oxygen, you have to do this all at once. You can't just simply walk into the site nilly-willy, and that's exactly what's going to happen to you. Yaga gets picked to pieces. Foxy finally with the frag back, as this is looking a lot easier now, with Yuzis the only one being alive. Kino with the cross will be able to take him down as that bullet tings off the windowsill that was intended for his noggin. And, well, luckily enough for Oxygen, that will be their second round on offense coming through already.
Yeah, actually learning their own lessons from their game yesterday as well. And I think the main takeaway for them is just do things earlier. Give them additional time to make up for their mistakes. We still saw it become an issue in at least one round back on the play in Cafe, but it seems like they've got a great grasp of it here on our second map for Oregon, as they're taking swift control of 2 consecutive upstairs holds in a row. That is the caveat to it, is it's just basically a repeat of the same site hold from MNM with a few slight operator changes. Now they're going to return to the basement, where they absolutely thrashed the execute attempt from Oxygen back on the first round here. So we could be looking at a very quick tie game at 2-2 if there's not corrections that come in from OXG. OXG are going to change up the attacking strategy a little bit too, as they're now going to bring the Ying into the fold, played by Vertical.
It's the fun one, the one that we all love to see when it comes to execute time. Candelas and smokes for Vertical inside of this one. It could have some heavy influence around this pillar space. More than likely be looking to take over the B site and get their plant down inside of that area. But as we know, between these two teams, plants really aren't that often, as the only plants that we were seeing over on Cafe came from the MNM side. And, well, it ended up getting them 2 victories. But past that, not a single plant inside of our other rounds. Here, we've only had frag fests, as every single round has ended to one of these teams running out of bodies. This time around, we'll have to see exactly what will go down, as Yuzis will be upstairs in red, looking to see if there's any drone presence inside of this area and just add some more black eye cams to the puzzle.
So at a 2-1 scoreline, OXG are in control. For how long is going to be the major question now. as MNM look to change up their own fate yet again, and they won't thankfully have to do anything too active to accomplish it here. It was mainly off of the virtues of their sight hold that MNM were able to win out that previous round, and a bit of an overcommitment from Oxygen in terms of grenade utility that just didn't end up meeting itself with as much success as they would have thought. You can see that's already been switched out too. It's now 2 packets of smokes and 2 grenades compared to the 4 all-in attempt, basically, on the nades we were seeing previously. Still, of course, 1 packet of flashes being brought for our attackers also to try to drain out some of the mitigation, as of course, we'll still have those ADSs, which could become problematic as they try to work their nades in.
Well, Oxygen clearing out the full map as intended. Had some risky plays coming through from FaZe yesterday where specifically we saw a smoke from Cameraman all the way upstairs in dorms on this exact site. Yes, I am not wrong in what I am saying, I promise you. As he was actually able to secure, I believe, what, 3 frags, John, inside of that round? Truly disgusting stuff, but it was mostly just a big error in the offensive side as they didn't clear out the top floor. They didn't think anything would be going on, and obviously they were sorely mistaken. So this time around, they want to make sure that they know exactly what is happening inside of this space before they strike, and obviously nobody home upstairs in Oregon, everybody downstairs for the time being.
So, time about halfway gone, and Oxygen still looking to open things up for themselves. Fox, I thought he was going to go for a hot drop. It's like a self-hot drop for a second there. Obviously not going to end up happening as he shifts himself off of that platform to finish up the opening here. And the rest of the team kind of gets themselves prepared. A little bit slower this time on the follow-up, the lead up into the basement, but the formula looks very similar. It's going to be the laundry pinch with a little bit of assistance coming in from Freezer. We can see Yogg already in position to put the pressure in from here. This is what didn't work on the last attempt, though. This nade coming in, nearly catching Nello, but it's not cooked. It's panic thrown instead here. That's going to give Nello the time he needs to get away from that and, for the most part, dodge all the damage.
Well, not going to have the sneaky play on the back end this time around, at least when it comes from Nook. Could be seeing some other things coming through here as we're going to have some Candelas in. The flashes work out. Vertical with 1, but he's going to have to get a whole heck of a lot more. The Candela being cooked, but he's peeking with utility in his hand. He gets bodied by Solitov, laxing on the reverse end, just like we assume, but obviously this time not as Nock. So fantastic stuff from him. It's down to the 2 versus 2, but they have minimal time, and they know that both of these ops are on different ends of the puzzle. Yaga takes down 1, but is Jesus able to get away with much here? He'll get 1, but knows where the other one is. A Goomine in Yogg's foot. He steps up.
Oh, but he gets the
what
headshots.
a headshot. Oxygen able to claim the round as they'll get 3 in a row.
OXG, and specifically Yaga, bringing a massive performance to the table there to bully his way into the site. The consistency in gun duels here from Yaga has been seen throughout the course of this team's run so far at this tournament, and once again, he's saving the day in the late round as he picks up that one for his squad, and like you said, carries 3 rounds consecutively now into the pockets of Oxygen. As again, MNM going to double down on this one. They feel it was close enough to warrant a retry. I would generally agree with it. So we're going to have a second play in basement coming up for round number 5.
It's the most defensively sound site inside of the entire map. When it's open, you play basement. That's just how it is. This is how it goes, unless you have something in the cards, I guess, for the offensive side that you think will really, really throw them off. So for MNM, yes, indeed, heading back downstairs, and they're also going to add some Electro Claws to the puzzle, so we'll see if that can do much. But as of right now, for MNM, this is the only thing that's able to really help them in the moment. Everyone else really not showing up in the frag department, minus Nello, who's currently 3-3. For Oxygen, though, it's the Yogg Dog show, as he's 7-2 at the moment through 4 rounds. Really, really impressive for the time being. We'll see if he can continue his reign of terror over the Marshmallows coming here into round 5.
So Oxygen seemingly in control of every facet of this attacking side, but MNM look to respond any way that they can here. They're going to change up their own fate as well, most notably with Tyrant bringing in the Ella to play out. Those Geschmack mines hopefully catching some of the members of Oxygen if they try to go for the bursted execute that we had seen on the previous 2 attempts. Obviously a bit of a mixed results on that for Oxygen, but this time seems like they had much better grasp over specifically the in-sight positions of the members of MNM. So able to eliminate them a lot more proficiently this time. Not relying too heavily on those nades as we saw back in round number 1, and then just kind of brute forcing their way forward directly into the crosshairs of quite a few members of MNM, actually taking a bit of a slow approach to it on that last round, and able to more surgically knock out some of the defenders.
Well, if you've seen it once, you've seen it 1,000 times. It's going to be the clear from the west to the east here on Oregon, as most teams really enjoy From the shower basis, a drone down, and Yaga with the follow-up as well. Good thing for Tyrant, though, is that he's aware that more than likely somebody's going to be behind that drone, and he's extremely right in the circumstances. But now, all of MNM forced back towards site, and not only that, but still so much time for Oxygen to work this space. Possibility of a big pick here if somebody's willing to challenge Yaga, but he has been so strong inside of these opening engagements, you might not necessarily want to go searching for that. Well, at least for Oxygen now, they'll be able to hold on to Freezer and continue to work on these hatches. Yaga with a frag grenade out. He knows that there's a Grismont mine under the table as well, so he won't pressure too far forward unless he wants to risk himself fully. Obviously, the adrenal surges will also be able to assist with him getting concussed later on, so if they do get forceful, he can pop that and immediately surge forward in through Freezer, but still a long road ahead of them when it comes to this hard breach game.
Regardless, though, halfway through the round and only just now starting to see OXG get into more secure positions to make their descent into the basement here. So once again, we will see them try and throw them at it with minimal time remaining here and relying quite heavily on just pure frags to get them into the site. Not frag grenades either, frags in terms of kills. Minute remaining.
Shout out to our fantastic observer there for getting rid of our mute bug, so now we can hear everything once again, and you guys can at home too. So Yaga going to continue to hold on to this side of Freezer, and John, this is getting to very low time here.
This is that stagnation that we were talking about in the pregame as well that I'm worried about with Oxygen. Their kind of hesitation to move in, their want to wait for someone on MNM to make a swing, to make a peek, and then use that as the entry point. That's not going to work out because obviously the immediate response from MNM is just sit back, don't peek, wait it out here. And now Nello's going to strike first instead, but he does get exchanged, however, so OXG now in the fight, pushing themselves forward, but only on even terms, and it's going to fall all into the pockets of MNM here. Yeah, another kill found from Vertical, but he's been found immediately afterwards as well. And MNM pick up a response to put us at a 3-2 scoreline as they find their second finally here.
What does Nello have in his water? That's what I've got to know. 3 opening engagements coming from this man on the defensive side. Obviously not able to muster 3 rounds off of that, but still, he's been able to slow down Oxygen in a certain sense and make it a lot more difficult for them to actually work their way in here. But they all came from the basement site here from Nello. We'll have to see if they can possibly get it done as they head towards meeting and kitchen.
So it's going to go back into a meeting room hold for MNM's final play. They still excuse me, tongue-tied there. It's a little dry in here. But MNM did have the second floor available for play upstairs. We're going to choose to ignore that one. They went for it twice in a row earlier on in this half, and it didn't work out either time. So probably a good choice to not go back to that one, as OXG basically ran the same exact strategy to clear it twice, and it also worked out nearly the same way for them in both of those attempts also. So meeting room will be the go-to point here for MNM to try and control their final round. This will lead to quite a bit of an extension upstairs. Still going to see some reliance on the kids' dorm specifically to waste time away from Oxygen. Same can be said for Attic. As we have already seen for a few of our teams, they can brute force past that one with stage door access and still be able to work their way into the site without necessarily having to clear out either of those setups. Just need Overwatch to prevent the Attic play from coming back to bite them.
Yes, indeed, my friend, but Oxygen are going to require quite a bit when it comes to this overall. Some softballs upstairs for Attic that could come back to bite MNM depending on how this top floor does break down, but look at this. Nello, he's going to be playing inside of Big Tower. This is something that you don't necessarily see every single day. Also have some angles down low opened up for E-Box. Usually you try to play prevent through this space and just give them up tower. Try and toss a nitro cell up through the E-Box space, but obviously this has been played out. This has been done time and time again, so Oxygen will have to try and look for something else here to try and push pressure onto the MNM bodies. As for MNM though, are they aware that this is more than likely going to be a kitchen attack? Vertical droning things out inside of kitchen. He knows that the only member in this space as of right now is Neo, but MNM do have some influence on this top floor that could definitely assist them in slowing this down, especially after Neo takes down Foxy.
Another opener going into the pockets of MNM as they continue to fend off these early plays, but at the same time, can't necessarily keep those same players up and rolling. Neo tries to go for a second swing and pays the price for it as we go into an even 4v4. Now OXG sits right at the precipice here of a kitchen push as well, not even needing to go for the stage door access. Yaga with the next find as Tyrant tries to challenge him, and Yaga is going to have another duel in a moment. Okay, never mind, backs away from it. Nello, a little surprised to not find him outside there anymore as he swings it with his own personal shotgun. Won't rely much from it and chucks away a Toxic Babe here to fend off the pressure from the main kitchen wall.
The big thing is now, though, is they've given up some information and uses... Oh, my goodness. He just makes it away from that frag grenade, but he's going to drop right into the open arms of OXG. He slips through the cracks, but now before Vertical can find him, it's down to 2 MNM bodies. Almost one as Solotov peaks, but he's not able to land his shots either. He takes some serious heat as well, so he'll be down to about 50 HP here. Only with a minute remaining for OXG. Kino now. He's trying to take some damage himself, but oh my goodness, the timing on that. Solotov, he's the only remaining member. He's got to try and stop this. Vertical's got the kill, and OXG have 4 rounds on the offensive side of Oregon. This is looking bleak.
When it works here as OXG consistently try to trade their way into a win, always hunting for that first kill opportunity, and while it tripped them up in a few rounds, they're wasting too much time to look for it or a little bit over-reliant on their utility in some cases. For the most part, it's a sound strategy, and they're able to bully their way into the site time after time after time again and snowball their way to a victory.
The constant pressure coming out from MNM, honestly coming back to bite them as well, is it was a little bit disengaged and discombobulated from each other, to be honest with you. As inside of that half, guys, we had 4 opening bloods from MNM in total. They just really weren't able to play off of each other in a certain sense, and OXG abusing that as they constantly got frag after frag after frag, especially for Yaga's sake, as he ends that half at a 9-3 split. Vertical coming up strong as well there on the tail end, as he's got 7 frags inside of his kill department, so fantastic stuff for OXG as they come into this defensive side. They have to be feeling themselves at the moment.
So just 20 seconds to go here. OXG are going to give us a fairly typical... Actually, I'm going to take that back. There's a few wrinkles in the setup here for OXG as we have both Yaga playing into the Ela here, and that's not going to be too much of a far cry from what we generally tend to see here. I obviously expect a bit more static utility to be placed in the site, but the real kicker is, of course, going to be Foxay on the Clash. Foxay, personally, as you can see from his scoreboard, has been struggling a little bit inside of this game, so he'll sacrifice his KD for this round in an attempt to slow things down, mainly in that long haul area, but also towards pillar, blocking off areas like construction and the back stairs push. He can be quite useful for delaying time.
You know, in North America, we just get the IGL nerf. That's what we get. Anyone that IGLs in North America automatically has to do bad inside of the game. It's just something that we do. I don't know why it happens, but it's going to happen here yet again for Fox. And honestly, he's been having a pretty fantastic land. This is definitely an outlier inside of his games. He had a pretty rough one against FaZe, but before that, he was actually one of the top players at SI overall. So pretty interesting stuff here, but obviously he doesn't need to get all of the kills. That's Yaga and Bert's job in the moment, as they're both on extended holds. At least they were initially here. Have to see exactly where Yaga ended up dipping off to. We did see him on that top floor. He made it all the way over to White Stairs and went down Freezer, so a little bit more of a safe play in the current situation, and honestly, probably a smart one at that, as he did get droned out earlier on, so not only is that going to force MNM to then drone out the top floor again, but also it's going to force them to waste some time doing that. So we're going to have the secondary hard breach come through for Neo, so they won't have to bring in anything else like a Thatcher or rather a Thermite in order to achieve this.
Well, half the round gone and relatively quiet time so far here, as you would sometimes tend to expect on a basement hold. OXG not wanting to play out too aggressively from their own positions, and MNM not wanting to risk anything. Well, to be honest, it's a little bit hard for them to try and throw anything out here without the hatch access being opened up.
Oh,
towards that now, Kino is going to take a huge slump of damage, but it's returned as well onto Solotov. The kills, though, evenly exchanged, and with Solotov on the ground, oh, that's a great nade rolling right in from Tyrant by construction. That's going to knock out Vert 2 players down, and keep in mind, Foxay is not one of the ones to be eliminated here, so we may yet need to try and frag out here a bit if that extra firepower is going to be needed. But with a minute remaining, he's going to start venturing up through those back stairs again to investigate, see if he can maybe open up an opportunity to get in the way of the rest of this execute, specifically towards the E-hatch drop.
And sort of things get so very difficult without OMI being in play and only having those ADSs, is that you don't have as much preventable utility as you would once want. And obviously, MNM throwing that wrench into the cogs, as now only 35 seconds remain, as Oxygen will lock up the elbow space and make this more difficult to try and play into for Marshmallows and Molotovs. You have to try and pressure now. Foxay will be manning the back stairwell here. They've seen Tyrant frag grenade out. Can he get it in behind the shield? Not going to deal any serious damage to Fox, as Neo will push himself down low. Laxing claims 1, but it's Tyrant to claim 2. It's all down to Laxing. He's able to hit some very serious shots, but a long road ahead of him now. He's being pressured by Tyrant here, and Tyrant will claim the frag. MNM able to get their very first offensive round.
Great crunch from MNM, specifically on the pillar play. That they knew that dealing with Foxay was going to be a bit problematic, so they flood the entire setup surrounding him there. Not only does he fall relatively quickly, but his support is not able to get anything off either. As MNM find themselves with a successful first round, and now are truly back in the ball game here with a 3-4 scoreline, only 1 behind the overall total from Oxygen. And Oxygen, once again, doubling down, heading back into another basement hold, not favoring the play upstairs. They think switching out the clash will make this a little bit easier to hold due to the early losses they sustained, and obviously the struggles Foxay would have had trying to contribute inside of the gunfight with a shield drawn.
We're going to have the Goyo come in through Foxay. Personally, I would have loved to see the Warden pick here, just because MNM are really leaning in to this Ying play right now. They're going to do so yet again here. It's a little bit predictable from MNM, but for Oxygen, they feel like the Goyo shield will give them some more longevity inside of the round. They'll have 4 shields coming into this foe. Yogg and Kino both having shields as well. So that's going to be an absurd amount of deployable shield utility that MNM have to try and work themselves through. And fortunately for Oxygen, they will have ADSs as well in the likes of Vertical, so they'll be able to prevent a couple of these frag grenades from coming in onto them past that. So for MNM now, they're awaiting the gates to be opened here as Yago once again crosses this top floor, but then will more than likely double back towards Freezer.
Well, we've got MNM out on the board. Let's see how their opening play will go. As, again, they will have easy access to the large majority of the map. Not going to see anything too crazy swung out from Oxygen. We're going to see a few players at least try to play from the staircase positions, though, specifically over towards Freezer in the security area. Then you can see 1 or 2 back by Laundry and backstairs also. However, won't be leaving those players out on an island for too long. And you can see Yaga's probably going to be the most prominent one to pay attention to here, as he could find himself getting pinched out relatively quickly. However, as I already mentioned, he's got an easy fallback point. Yep, just go right across the hallway there, get himself into safer harbors over by the Freezer staircase.
And Tyrant will begin clearing things out here with the Gemini clone. They'll find Yaga inside of Freezer's stairwell, just like we were talking about previously. Continue to hold on to this. Those Grishmont mines will obviously assist him in any gunfight that comes into this space. MNM already droning out mostly everything on this mid and top floor, so they'll begin breaking up these hatches and start seeing as to how they can affect this site. Again, plenty of utility when it comes to defensive standpoints here for Oxygen and these deployable shields, so they're going to be making a pretty grand stand eventually at some point. Foxay going to end up adding another piece here, and that's going to end up leading to somebody jumping over that shield or having to blow that up with a frag grenade. We'll just have to see, because the top angle, you won't be able to get the actual gas tank on the back end of that.
Soltov sneaking the Twitch drones in now. Going to find out as much as he can about the interior site setup, and is going to find that the laundry area at least is relatively clean, save for a few mute jammers or one that was sitting in his way. No ADSs to snipe out this time around. That means MNM are probably going to have a bit of a confidence boost here to try and play out from that direction. We can already see it. The nade dump's going back in. They do want to at least chuck in one of these smokes to see if it maybe gets eaten up, but Laxing is going to eat up instead as he swings out to find the opening kill versus Solitov. There we can see where the huge nest of those has been deployed, and MNM did catch it. A nade just barely leaping within line of sight of those ADSs, and it takes all 3 of them out without even triggering any of them.
That's actually insane what just happened there to Oxygen. Very unfortunate given the circumstances of what this push is starting to build up to, but Oxygen will still be able to try and play into the utility, specifically of Kino here. They have some Nitro Cells to be able to try and stop Plant. That's why Foxy's prone in this current situation. Yes, Nitro Cell already ripped and ready to go, as he doesn't want his opponent to hear that tape rip and be aware that it's headed towards their direction. Nitro Cell out, but it's way too early here. He just try and does it off of the Candelas, but it's going to be uses to strike onto Kino instead. Nello now starting to take some heat. He's trying to propels himself forward. Yaga with one, but he's traded out immediately as the damage starts coming in onto these Freezer players. Vertical to double back over in towards Pillar, and he's going to have the cutoff here. Not able to land his shots initially. Now they've crossed through. Too many kills, and oh no, Vertical, he had to win out that engagement. Not ready for the Freezer player either to swing in, and
with us moving into round number 9 here. Pause will expire, and Oxygen will be out of time to correct their mistakes. So they'll move away from the basement. 2 times is enough of a try here, because that would potentially bleed out half of the entire half if they went for it a 3rd time. So it's going to be the same strategy as we saw from MNM. Give it 2 tries and move on as they head up towards the 2nd floor hold instead here. Now having tied things up at 4-4, they need to try and find some way to leverage victories here, as if not, MNM are going to be speeding towards map number 3 here and a potential elimination against Oxygen as well.
Well, Oxygen headed towards the top floor, just as you said, and some Frost Mats will be in for Foxy to try and slow down these MNM members. Fortunately for them, they do have Tyrant, that Gemini clone, so they'll more than likely be able to discover a couple of different locations here. The scariest Frost Mat out of all of this isn't the window, isn't the other double window, it's the one over here inside of Attic. This is the one that always catches people off guard. You don't really look down whenever you run through this space. You're really worried about somebody being on the boost inside of the B space, so you're always looking over towards kids' dorms to see if somebody's holding your cross, and all of a sudden your ankles are gone, John, and it's really hard to walk. So that's more than likely what we'll see going on, unless a very well-placed frag grenade is able to claim a lot of info. And oh, speaking of info, Nello with some very serious info coming in onto Yaga, but fortunately for Yaga, some missed shots as they will tag him in the shoulder, and he'll be able to skimper off towards the basement.
Yaga surviving, obviously at limited HP here, so he'll have to be a bit careful about any peaks later on in the round, but it's important that he keeps himself alive, avoiding that issue as we get later on into the round. Laxi, meanwhile, an interesting pick from him as he's going to bring the Warden into the fold here, hopefully allowing for him to sustain inside of the chaos. And on top of that, too, with smokes in play for MNM, be able to spot through that and maybe grab a few players, as they'll haphazardly believe they'll have free reign over the site with those down and some of those POVs that OXG would use to fend off this action being blocked out here.
Oh man, so much intel constantly coming back onto Yaga as he's continually trying to find some avenue to enact himself upon this offensive side, but it just isn't happening. Fortunately enough for Foxy, that's not going to be the real Gemini. Some shots go wide, and he'll be able to clean that up eventually. Nello, still some solid info in here. Frag grenade out, but it's not going to catch Yogg. He's wasted so much utility inside of this space simply off of timing. He has no idea that drone's there. He's just constantly backing off at the perfect moment and actually wasting out some utility from the offense here, unfortunately enough for them. Another frag grenade to go out, but this time it's up towards the top end of white to see if anybody is playing inside of that space, and clearly not. Tyrant going to catch Fox as he tries to go for a rotation here, and that's going to be our opening blood. But the good news is that Yaga has wasted so much dang time in this positioning. Nobody on cams for the time being. Azusis will pick up Yaga. They knew that he constantly was doubling back onto that location, as they'll be able to find their second frag.
Yeah, the loss of insight players is certainly going to cause issues for Oxygen as we get into the dying minute of the round. However, they will not be able to maintain solid overwatch over all the entry points here. And as we have already seen on the basement assault, MNM have no problem splitting up the play and working in from multiple angles here. So with Oxygen not necessarily having great full coverage on everything anymore, that could leave a hole open. That could be an opportunity to break down the setup, just like we saw in the previous basement attack with a very unfortunate turn of events. A Vertical not able to catch the cross from Freezer. Kino, the next to take some heat here as nades are going to be chucked in against him and already losing about half of his HP. Another one primed, ready to go, but looks like it actually got canceled here. Tyrant stepping up to the plate, back over at the top of White Stairs, but he has to wait out the burn on these toxic babes. More players from MNM slowly going to start establishing positions to get themselves into the site, but it's going to be Kino to respond first, but not just one, but two downs. The second one is found from Vertical to eliminate Neo. 15 seconds left here. Plant attempt is going to be made by Nello as he's able to sneak his way in through walk-in towards games. Where is the response to that? Laxing taking out the White Stairs position, but the plant goes down successfully. However, that player will be overwhelmed very quickly. Nello can survive for one more trade, but the retake is swift, and the round pickup finally going to be made by Oxygen as they go up 5-4, just when they were about to lose the lead.
An extremely intense round there from Oxygen, but a fantastic tack timeout comes through, and they finally find their mark on the defensive end. And it's not downstairs, it's inside of dorms. Very well done from them, especially from the early picks that MNM had. But again, like we talked about, so much time wasting happening specifically for Yaga, even though he did end up dying because of that info that was constantly coming from the freezer stair cam that we saw. But it was just enough to get it past MNM inside of this situation. Even past that, a fantastic push onto the top of white stairs for the SAS op that ended up cleaning up a very serious angle that they had to get rid of.
So basement is the fallback now for Oxygen. They do not have confidence in either of their first floor holds at this point to make an attempt towards that. So a third try now on the basement play. And so we're also going to keep the Warden in for Laxing yet again here too. And this time it's certainly going to be very useful as the Ying makes another reappearance for MNM. So Laxing will obviously have the direct counter to that and be able to contend against the E-Hatch drop and the overall flood from MNM once they are ready to go towards it.
And this is exactly what I wanted to see. Not only can Warden see through smokes and see through stuns, but he's also got the 1.5 on the MPX. So some of these longer distance gunfights that Laxing has been dedicating himself towards will be made just a little bit easier, especially with swings coming in from like the main stock space inside of the closet going out towards laundry, or if he wants to try and contest freezer. It's just overall an easier gunfight for him now. A lot more of deployable shields being applied to this space healthily, as we'll have Goyo worked back in for Fox A, and even more shields brought. This is going to be 5, guys. 5, count them, 5 shields for the defenders. You never see this.
So let us see how much of a blockade this will cause for MNM, as they'll have to try and work past that. And of course, that's going to serve itself to eat up quite a few of these nades also. MNM will certainly want to save those to be able to get those obstacle points out of the way, as they do not want to be sprinting through these hallways, then in the middle of it have to go for a very slow hop over in order to make their way into a site where they probably wouldn't be able to aim that properly as well.
What's the counter to 6 nades? 5 shields. That's what it is. And 3 ADSs on top of that. So much utility for MNM to now try and work through here. We'll see what they're able to achieve inside of this round, but it's going to be quite the interesting one, so you guys better lock in for round 10. MNM now clearing out the mid floor, but obviously we have to get all the annoying, boring stuff done first, like open up hatches and waiting for MNM to set up their execute, but it shouldn't be too long. All of Oxygen are just going to be lying in wait downstairs until they're able to achieve something. I do believe that there is one Oxygen member, yes indeed, all the way up in the tower space. It's vertical here, as Fox A will be playing slightly aggressive towards the tower stairwell, but more than likely won't be giving it up anytime soon. He just wants to be here as a presence if his friend needs him all the way upstairs.
And so still a very slow built-up assault here, and we haven't even accounted for vertical up inside of T3 that has yet to have been dealt with also. I'm actually very surprised he's going to play into this position, considering what ended up happening on the last basement attack. Yeah, this drone is potentially going to suss him out in a moment. Does he hear it, though? It's around the corner here, and vertical suddenly revealed, and this plan no longer as solid as it was a few minutes ago. A simple overwatch for the stairs is all they have to play now, and vertical's position will be thrown away, and more than likely won't be able to contribute as much. They're going to hard focus him. He's sliding away to this one, just barely makes it out, but can't get himself to the cross over by the attic, so Tyrant drones him out, and then takes him out as well here, throwing away the plans once again for Oxygen, and making this basement attack a little bit easier.
You have no idea how difficult it is to climb rather ladders nowadays with drones, so that was just fantastic from him. Definitely took some time and practice in order to get that mechanic down. So either way, for Oxygen, can they make the grandstand around these deployable shields? The Goyo shield for E-Box will already go off and start to delay some time due to its placement, as MNM try and wrap themselves around this site. The Candela's out, but they have the counter in the likes of Laxing. Fox A to go down inside of Elbow. Kino to get a very serious shot inside of the actual construction space. Yago went out a blind fight against Tyrant. Another one. It's down to Neo now in the 2v1 here for MNM. Can Laxing possibly get this done? He doesn't have a Nitro, obviously. He does have the cross, but Solidov does as well. And MNM are able to win yet another basement offense.
MNM hot on the heels of OXG here as they exchange out another round. And that's going to put Oxygen in a bit of a sticky situation here, because they've tried 3 basement attacks. Neither one has gone off well for them. And yeah, that's going to force them onto their third site here, as they're going to go for Meeting Hall next to hopefully give them a sixth and final round to at least guarantee the extra rounds in overtime, re-unlocking things like the upstairs hold. That is the one saving grace right now for Oxygen's defense, is if their Meeting Hall play works out, they can return back up to the second floor, which is the only site they've controlled so far in this half. If not, though, MNM will sit on map point, and that will force Oxygen to win that site for a second time upstairs, just to trigger OT.
This just goes to show you how much Wamai really can do inside of a round with throwables and everything else. I mean, we're constantly seeing very solid pressure come in through these frag grenades. Even though these deployable shields are in play, it doesn't mean that they're obviously going to make it to where the defense is impossible to crack. In fact, MNM always having man advantage inside of that situation there, as they started off with vertical and are able to just continue to trade things out on site down to the 2 versus 1 as they try and attempt to put a plant down. So we'll tie things up yet again here as MNM make their best stand that we've seen thus far inside of this best of 3.
MNM truly coming alive on this attacking side, falling behind a little bit on the defensive end, but even there, having a pretty respectable fight compared to the first map versus Oxygen. This map pick obviously being Oxygen's, but one that MNM, as we can obviously tell by this point, is quite comfortable with too, giving us a real fight between these two teams. Not necessarily handing over these rounds on a silver platter anymore to the OXG roster, but certainly some one-sided ones being found by MNM too, making this a little bit more of a workable game for them.
Drones upstairs now for MNM to clear out this site initially, but obviously they know that there has to be some presence around this space. Vertical is going to start droning downstairs as well, just to double check on this with his drone that he's taken from the offensive side, see if there is any pressure that could possibly be coming up the stairwells later on, but obviously no one home for the time being, minus Oxygen members, so they'll be happy about that. Tyrant starting to push upstairs, and will Oxygen's defensive setup hold on? Worried about the cross here. Oh, very close for Tyrant, but not able to find the head of any of those Oxygen members inside of the dorm space.
A minute gone from the round here, and aside from those attempts to pop off with early picks, no real action between either team just as of yet. MNM, though, still favoring a play in from kitchen side, it looks like initially here, but after they're cleared upstairs, we'll check back in on that yet again and see if that's still going to be the case. That was how we saw Oxygen try to utilize it on their own assault against this site, and it worked out pretty well for them. So I'm going to take a page out of that book and try to work their way in from the cafeteria side also. Yogg's position on the Jaeger upstairs, and Kids will now be found out. He'll go hunting that drone, but he needs to hunt some players in a moment. I was just trying to prevent the intel bleed so he can be a little bit more amorphous with his position inside of Kids. They know where he's at, though, and Yogg doesn't even get a bullet out this time. Solotov knocks him right out of play. That once again sets up MNM with the early advantage they might just need to assault this site.
Well, Oxygen have been spread somewhat thin across this site in the current moment. A lot of presence from MNM in this top floor now as they begin to set up kitchen for a site execute. So much time remaining for them. The Ying still in play as well with no counter in the likes of Warden for the OXG side. So these Candelas will more than likely strike true here. The good news, though, is that they only have 2 remaining drones for the offensive side. So Oxygen can possibly sneak through the cracks here and get some very serious fragging power on deck before this goes off. Big problem now, though, is that Oxygen have fallen all the way back into the meeting space. We could have the possibility of a flank coming through. That could mean so much to this. The Candelas start to go off. That's a call sign for Foxay to hop 2. Is anyone aware of him? He'll be able to take 1, and they're not aware of the top presence. Oh, can he get them all? It's going to be Vert as well to tag on. And finally, Oxygen able to get yet another round here on their defensive side.
Foxay with a hero play and a massive blunder from the boys in MNM there, as they are unable to account for Foxay's continued success, continued aggression over the top hatch there as he races in, shuts down the plant, and opens up the floodgates for the rest of Oxygen to come in and retake also. That's a big pickup for them and a much needed one at that, considering that MNM were in control of everything they needed to take the site, but could not follow through on it. Now Oxygen already are going to be able to return. Oh, and what's this? They're actually going to go back towards the basement here. They should have second floor unlocked, right?
Yes, indeed. They just did meeting. Well, they just won meeting, so their only other, actually, no. Wait, yes.
Yeah,
because round nine, they did dorms.
Right,
so, yes, absolutely the case, my friend. So, for some reason, I thought you were talking about cafeteria for a split second. But either way, yeah, no, they should definitely have dorms unlocked in this situation. But, I mean, just as a callback to that, it was looking pretty dire, and they won some serious gunfights to pull them out of that. The only reason that MNM was not able to win that round is because of that engagement on white. If that engagement on white goes awry, that's definitely an MNM round there for sure. So they're more than likely just trusting the downstairs because of what we talked about before. It's the most defensively sound site on this entire map. So it's going to be difficult. I'm not trying to lie to you.
0-3, yeah.
Yes, they are indeed 0-3 on this site, but for MNM, I mean, is this going to be all she wrote? It's very, very close to the end of this, and Oxygen trying to close this out in regulation here as they will make their grand stand for the 4th time in the basement.
A bold choice, in my opinion, if you can't tell already. So let's see if Oxygen's decision to go back down here is going to work out. Once more, we'll see Vertical play in the site this time as well. That might be the reason why they're deciding to go back to it, is like, okay, count the Vertical thing as a bit of a fluke, but he played in the site of the round before that, and it was still the problematic position because he had Overwatch for the back stairs and the construction push that was ultimately not needed. And by the time he rotated back into position, the cross had been made from Freezer, and the site had been fully taken over as well. So need to make sure that that defensive matrix is going to be sound at a minimum. The comms are on point here, so that if someone sneaks through it once again, their entire setup doesn't fall to pieces, as we've already seen on 3 other rounds.
I'm truly terrified for Oxygen in the moment, and terrified for the NA fans at home. I don't know necessarily what's going to happen inside of this round because MNM has been so dominant over this site time and time again. And, well, as of right now, this is looking to be no different. It's opening up the exact same way. The only difference being is that Vertical isn't all the way up in tower and waiting to be a free frag for when they inevitably drone out that space. A beautiful Valk cam to find some info initially here, but Vertical won't be able to tag up the op. The old sandbag Valk cam out in lobby will find our Maverick torching up this hatch for the time being. So Oxygen going to have a better read on this situation, and that one, you know, it's pretty simple at the end of the day. Either way, Oxygen still waiting on MNM's next move here, as he's still got some hatches to open, but in a moment's notice, MNM will try and strike onto the site.
MNM starting to take up positions outside of all of the execute points. We've got one player in construction. Solotov working his way in with the Twitch drones, going to see if he can take out some utility. A few more waiting around the E hatch. And I think we might even have one trying to push down Freezer stairs or Laundry stairs too. So quite a few insertion points going to be used by MNM to try and bleed out the defensive positions of Oxygen. And it will play heavily into the back setup. This is working out well for Oxygen, though. This is what they've been waiting for so long and have never really been obliged on, usually leaving them quite vulnerable for their setup a little bit closer to the front of the site. But this time, MNM are going to walk right into the play that has been set up for them towards the back end of this map.
And this could be the problem here. Is Oxygen able to solve it? Let's see, MNM now with some frag grenades out. Laxing waiting for this front push, but obviously, as Blue said, it's coming in from the rear. Smoke starting to deal some damage to use this, but they're going to spring two, hopefully off of these Candelas. The first one out, they'll drop into E-Box hatch as well. Nitro Cell will deal some damage to Tyrant as Fox 8 pressures. He knows somebody's got to be in this space, but Tyrant wins it out with the Grismont, fully blinding him as well, as the first kill will go to MNM. But will the round? 15 seconds remain now as they need to get something done here. Candela's out. Still have the Warden in play as well to try and assist. The crossfire here from Vertical gets one, it gets two. They know where the plant's coming down. The pistol out. It's all down to Nello and Solotov. Make it Nello! And that's it for Oxygen. They secure the map in 2-0 fashion. They win over MNM and send them home.
They get it done with a knife as well. A brutal way to knock an opponent out of this tournament, but it is done. 7-4 on map number 1, 7-5 on map number 2. OXG, hold on.